The clinking of coffee cups and the hiss of frying bacon filled the little diner that sat on the edge of Willow Creek. Anna stood behind the counter, her apron dusted with flour, her hair tied up in a messy bun that never seemed to stay in place. She loved the diner. It was her mother's before she passed, but lately, it had also become her quiet cage. Every regular who walked in knew her, and every smile carried a silent judgment she could feel. That morning, her father had brought someone new. Luke Callahan, the rancher everyone in town talked about. Tall, sunburned skin, broad shoulders, and the kind of quiet strength that made people stop when he entered a room. He was looking for a cook for his ranch, her father had said. But Anna could see from the way he avoided her gaze that he didn't expect to find one who looked like her. Her hands trembled slightly as she poured him coffee. "So you're the rancher everyone talks about," she said with a polite smile. He nodded. "And you must be the famous cook," he replied, his tone kind but reserved. His eyes flicked to her hands, soft, steady, capable. "Your father says you make the best pie in the county." She laughed softly, trying to ignore the self-conscious tug in her chest. "No one marries a fat girl, sir. But I can cook." The words slipped out before she could stop them. It was half a joke, half a truth she had learned to live with. For a heartbeat, the diner went silent. Luke set his cup down, his gaze steady and thoughtful. "Who told you that?" he asked quietly. Anna shrugged, pretending not to care. "Everyone. That's just how it is in towns like ours." He leaned back, studying her. "Then everyone's wrong," he said simply. "A man doesn't marry a body, Anna. He marries a heart that knows how to care, and hands that know how to make a house feel alive." Something inside her shifted then. Not completely, but enough to make her chest ache. No one had ever said anything like that to her. For the first time in a long while, Anna felt seen. Not as a shape, not as a joke, but as a woman worth noticing. And though she didn't know it yet, that single moment would change everything. The sun dipped low behind the hills as Anna nervously rearranged the plates on her small wooden table for the 10th time. Her modest kitchen smelled of rosemary, garlic, and freshly baked bread. Her safe place, her world. Tonight it wasn't just about dinner. Tonight she was cooking for Luke Callahan, the man whose words had lingered in her mind every night since he'd first walked into her diner. When Luke had shown up that afternoon, leaning casually against the diner counter, his hat tilted low and a teasing grin on his face, her heart had nearly stopped. "You said you can cook," he'd said, his blue eyes glinting. "I'm here to see if you meant it." Now, as she basted the roast chicken one last time, Anna tried to quiet the rush of nerves in her chest. She wasn't used to being seen, much less visited by men like Luke. Every clang of a spoon, every crackle of the oven seemed louder in the silence. When he arrived, he filled the doorway with his easy confidence. But his smile softened when he saw her. "Something smells like heaven in here," he said, taking off his hat. Anna blushed. "It's my mother's recipe. She said you can't win hearts without feeding souls." They sat across from each other, and for the first time, she saw him not as the town's most eligible rancher, but as a man tired from long days, his hands rough and calloused, his voice deep but gentle. He took a bite, and his eyes widened. "Anna, this is incredible." She laughed nervously, looking down. "It's just chicken." "No," he said firmly. "It's care. It's peace on a plate." Something about the way he said it made her chest tighten. They talked for hours, about ranch life, storms, and the loneliness that came with both of their worlds. Luke listened to her like her words mattered. No one had ever done that before. As the night wore on, she realized the food had grown cold. But neither of them cared. For the first time in her life, Anna wasn't thinking about her body, her size, or how others saw her. She was laughing, living, being. And across the table, Luke wasn't seeing a fat girl at all. He was seeing the woman who made his heart feel full. The days that followed were golden. Luke visited the diner every evening, sometimes for a meal, sometimes just for a quiet moment to talk. Anna began to feel something she hadn't in years: hope. People started noticing too. The rancher who had always kept to himself was now sitting in a diner corner, smiling at a woman no one thought could capture his heart. But in a small town like Willow Creek, happiness never goes unnoticed for long. It began with whispers at the general store. "Luke Callahan and that big girl from the diner?" "You're joking," one woman said behind a shelf of canned peaches. Another laughed. "He could have anyone he wants. Guess he just likes good food." The laughter that followed wasn't kind. By the end of the week, those whispers reached Anna. Someone left a note on the diner counter. No signature, just cruel words scrawled in red ink. He'll get bored of you soon. Anna folded the note in trembling hands, her heart sinking like a stone. That night, when Luke arrived with his easy smile and a bouquet of wildflowers, she couldn't bring herself to meet his eyes. She felt foolish. Foolish for believing a man like him could really see her. "You're quiet tonight," he said softly, setting the flowers on the counter. She forced a smile. "People talk, Luke. Let them. I don't want you to deal with the gossip." Luke frowned, stepping closer. "What gossip?" She hesitated, her voice breaking. "They say you'll leave once you've had your fill of homemade pie and flattery." She laughed bitterly. "And they're right. Why wouldn't you?" He took her hands, firm but gentle. "Anna, look at me." When she did, he spoke with the same quiet conviction that had melted her defenses from the start. "I don't care what they say. I didn't fall for your cooking. I fell for the woman who made me remember what home feels like." Tears welled in her eyes, blurring the world around her. "Do you really mean that?" she whispered. He smiled, slow, certain, steady. "I've never meant anything more." And in that fragile, trembling moment, the whispers faded. For the first time, she began to believe that love, real love, could silence even the cruelest voices. The morning of the wedding dawned soft and golden, with sunlight spilling across the rolling ranch hills like melted honey. Birds chirped from the fence posts, and the scent of wildflowers drifted through the open windows of the small farmhouse, where Anna stood in front of the mirror. Her hands trembled as she adjusted the simple lace veil that framed her face. The dress wasn't designer or fancy. It was handmade by her aunt, stitched with care and love. It fit her curves perfectly, hugging the shape she had once hated, but now carried with quiet pride. For the first time in her life, Anna didn't wish to be anyone else. She looked at her reflection and whispered, half laughing, half crying, "No one marries a fat girl, huh?" From the doorway, her father's voice came softly. "Seems someone did." His eyes glistened with pride as he held out his arm. Outside, the ranch had been transformed. Wooden benches lined the field, decorated with sunflowers and burlap ribbons. The sky stretched endlessly blue, and Luke stood at the altar, his cowboy hat in his hands, his heart pounding as he caught sight of her walking toward him. Every step she took seemed to erase another cruel word from her past. When Anna reached him, Luke took her hands, his voice shaking slightly as he began to speak. "You once told me no one marries a fat girl," he said, his eyes locked on hers. "You were wrong. Because I didn't marry a fat girl. I married the woman who taught me kindness, laughter, and what love really means." The crowd grew silent, the wind pausing as if to listen. Tears streamed down Anna's face. But she was smiling, not shyly, not nervously, but with the radiant confidence of someone finally free. As they said their vows, Luke's hands trembled slightly when he placed the ring on her finger. "You made me believe in something real," he whispered. "In us." When they kissed, the guests cheered, and the sound of laughter and music filled the open field. That night, as lanterns glowed over the ranch and the stars shimmered above, Anna danced barefoot in the grass, her laughter bright, her heart whole. The girl who once believed no one would marry her had become a woman loved beyond measure.